Hey friends, new location, new topic. So we are at my house today and we are going to do a live Q&A about herbs. The reason we're doing this is because we had so many questions this weekend at our Herbs de Provence event. So we thought we would have fun and answering the questions by hopping on and kind of doing it Q&A style. So Maggie has written down a bunch of the questions from the weekend and she's going to ask me and I'm going to answer to the best of my ability. And then if you want to hop on and say hello and type in a question, we will try to answer your question. If you like this format, then you can suggest other things you'd like us to talk about. So here we go.
We'll jump into it. Okay, so question number one. What is the difference in fresh herbs versus dried herbs when you're cooking?
Okay, great question. Fresh herbs versus dried herbs. Dried herbs are much more powerful than fresh herbs. So you're going to need 3 times fresh herb versus dried herbs. So if your recipe calls for a tablespoon of dried herbs, you'll need 3 tablespoons of fresh herbs. So that can kind of make you wonder, well, why would I bother with that? The reason is herbs are full of aromatic oils and the flavor in the fresh is not as strong, but it's much more complex and it's going to have different nuances. So it's going to give you a much better flavor profile. So it's not going to be just one note, and you know what I mean. When you've had the fresh herbs, it's just this freshness and brightness that's just not quite the same.
For sure. Okay, the next one. How do you measure, you just answered that. How do you measure out fresh herbs versus dried herbs?
Okay, so I'll say that one more time and do it both ways. So it is a 3-to-1 ratio. So 3 times as much dried herbs as fresh. And of course, if the recipe calls for fresh herbs and it calls for 3 tablespoons, then you would back that down to 1 tablespoon.
Dried? Okay. Excuse me. Are there any special instructions when it comes to cooking with fresh herbs versus dried herbs?
So that is one that I have learned the hard way. And that is, yes, you put your dried herbs in at the beginning of the cooking time. That's perfectly fine. But if you put fresh herbs in at the beginning of the cooking time, since they are more delicate, they will taste like nothing by the end. So you want to put your fresh herbs in 10 to 20 minutes before the cooking time is finished, or use it as a garnish and sprinkle it on at the end.
Okay. What herbs are best for savory meals?
I think that's probably a matter of opinion, so therefore I'll give you my opinion. I love basil, I love thyme, I love sage, I love rosemary, I love tarragon, oregano. I thought that's one that I would love as fresh, but I kind of prefer oregano dried. But those are probably my personal favorites, and I know everyone else will have theirs. Hey, Kiernan.
Okay, are there any herbs that you like for sweet dishes, or you prefer?
This is something new to me that I am working on. So number 1 for sweet dishes, using mint is something that I really like. One of my favorite cookbooks, or a couple of different ones that I have, are from the Huntsville Herb Society. This is Some Like It with Herbs. And several of the recipes that we gave you this past weekend came from this cookbook. And they really use basil and rosemary and mint in several things. And they even do a coriander seed. And now I love coriander on like roasted cauliflower. So I'm interested in trying that one. And then the lemon thyme, I think it would be something really interesting to try because I love lemon in so many sweet dishes. And I'd like to see kind of what that extra little bit of thyme flavor would be. But in all honesty, I usually use mint. I haven't branched out a lot, but those are my goals. I try to branch out.
Okay. Do you use herbs in baking? If so, what?
So I assumed on this, since you asked about the sweet dishes, that with baking with this, it was more like savory dishes and breads. And yes, you know, if you had the focaccia bread with us this weekend, you know how wonderful the thyme was. I've had that with rosemary. Basil would be wonderful in that. I think sage would be good in that. We should try that one when we do it, because, you know, sage is so good in cornbread dressing that I think that would be a wonderful one to carry over. And then anytime you're making pizza, you know, to put on some fresh herbs of different kinds, and kind of looking at that as a little bit of baking as well.
Right, okay. What is your favorite herb? You get one.
Oh, I gotta have more than one. How about one per type of food?
That's good.
So basil, I just absolutely adore. And for some of the craziest things, like I like to take basil and put that in a ham sandwich this time of year instead of lettuce, and it just amps up the flavor tremendously. Same thing in a grilled cheese. But yeah, if you're going to hold me to one, I think it'd have to be basil.
Yeah, it's super versatile.
Yep.
I like. What herbs do you have in your garden now?
Right now, I have basil, sage, thyme, and mint. I would have rosemary, but I can't find it right now. So that's what I like the most.
Okay. What are the best herbs? This might be kind of the same. What are the best herbs to grow or have on hand?
I think that's really personal preference, but I think those are some of the ones that most people use. Basil is very easy to use and easy to grow. Same with sage and thyme, very easy to grow and easy to use, but it's, you know, really based on your preferences and what you're going to really use.
What is your favorite recipe using herbs?
So I had to have a little time to think about this. I told her she had to let me know that one, because that one's hard. And I think that is this meatball recipe that I got from Food Network probably 10 years ago. And it was some little Italian grandmother's recipe. And I thought, oh, well, that's exactly what I want. And they are the best meatballs I've ever had. And there are, I think, a cup and a half of packed basil leaves in it, ton of grated onion, so you grate it up really fine, a whole bunch of Parmesan cheese, so I mean, what's not to like? And that punch of basil in those meatballs is just incredible. So yeah, I guess basil definitely is my favorite, because I keep going back to basil.
That sounds really good. Okay.
So guys, that's all the questions and answers we had. So real quick, if you have a question, go ahead and type it in and we'll try to answer that for you. And also, if there's something else that you would like us to kind of do a Q&A for, let us know. I know we were talking about doing one about the farm, yeah, about the animals that we have, why we have a farm, some different things like that. If there's any questions that you have about that, then let us know.
Let us know if you like this video.
Yep.
Yeah, this was fun.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.